Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head back to Stockholm and we're going to have a look at another beer from a brewery you've seen me review quite regularly over the last couple of months. But prior to this, I hadn't had a beer from these guys since about 2016, and I just hadn't seen them actually, so it's nice to see these guys getting out there a little bit more regularly. So for this one, like I said, we are going to go back to Stockholm and we're having a look at beer number 4 from Pang Pang Brewery. So this one is the Boy Juice. It's an 8% double IPA and it is triple dry hopped with Citra and Mosaic, which is the kind of classic mix, if you like. From what I gather, this is one of Pang Pang's regular beers. And I actually saw this one on the shelves in Hansa in Malmö, the Systembolaget there, the big boutique store. And for it to be down there, it must be produced at some considerable volume actually. And Pang Pang are quite a small brewery by by Swedish standards, if you like. So it was quite interesting just to spy that can there. But I actually ordered this one, so I'm guessing that it would have come from the depot in Stockholm actually. But it was just interesting that after I ordered it, I saw this one on the I saw it in the store at Hansa when I was getting my small partiers and things like that. So yeah, definitely nice to return to these guys, and it'll be cool to try one of their regular beers. This one, from what I gather, has been available for quite a little while actually. So yeah, curious to see how it turns out, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this one as well. So as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Pang Pang Brewery before. No doubt there will be some more at some point in the near future. There's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Pang Pang Brewery then, on to my brewery notes. So Pang Pang, as I've told you before, are based in an old brewery in Hökarängen in Stockholm, and the company was founded by Fredrik Tunedal back in 2011, which makes it the oldest craft brewery in the city of Stockholm. So he had been involved in the restaurant business for a number of years before he started, brewing beer for himself. He was just very curious about it. So he started off with about 50,000 Swedish kronors of savings. And this was when he was 25 years old, and apparently he built the brewing equipment himself using old dairy tanks, and the beers were all brewed in very small 750 litre batches. But in the early days they mainly went to local restaurants, but they're now quite widely available in Systembolaget through the order system. They are available nationwide. But in 2015, Fredrik also began some experimentation with distillation, and he was gradually scaling up the brewery over time, and by 2018 he was producing 75,000 litres of beer per year. I think they have undergone a little bit of an expansion recently to get the cans in, to be producing the beers in cans and stuff like this, and as of May 2020, when I'm filming this review for you, they've produced around 90 different beers. I wasn't able to find a kind of up-to-date production volume from these guys. I might message them in for the next video and just ask them how much they're producing, but they have been scaling up a little bit over the last couple of years from what I understand. As I said to you before, the Cookie Monster Stout that I reviewed, which if I remember rightly was back in 2016 at some stage, that was the first beer that I ever tried from these guys actually, and it was very nice, I have to admit. It was a very nice beer, that. So yeah, it wasn't until the very recently that I reviewed another beer from these guys. So yeah, that was the IPA. I forget the name of the IPA now, but there was also the chocolate cherry pie stout, which was really quite interesting. So yeah, these guys are a really interesting little brewery, and hopefully they continue to do well. I need to keep an eye on these guys and see what they're releasing over the next little while. But that's all the information I can really give you on Pang Pang Brewery at the moment. If you want to learn more, of course, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on and things like that. And of course, you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all the different beers that they've done. So yeah, let's get on and have a look at the tasting of this one then. So I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork of this one before we open it up. You can see a little bit like you know, cheetah. It's the cheetahs that don't have the brown parts in their spots, if I remember correctly. So I wonder what the name Boy Juice is all about. I don't know exactly what that's meant to be, but there you can see there is the Pang Pang brewery symbol. I don't know if Frederick actually has those that tattooed on his fingers, but yeah, wouldn't be surprised. I think that's the thing. But in Swedish, of course, Pang Pang is just the equivalent of saying like bang bang in English, so it's quite a funny brewery name, this one actually. But yeah, triple dry hop double IPA with Citra and Mosaic. So yeah, 44 centilitre can. I don't know what I paid for this, maybe about 45 or 50 kroners. 50 kroners are usually about £4.25 or something like that. About €5 is the, you know, the going rate for a 44 centilitre can like this. So yeah, let's get it out and we'll get on with the tasting then. Curious to see what this beer has in store for us. And I'll tell you straight away, you can smell that Citra Mosaic blend in there. It's a very classic and quite distinctive blend actually. So I don't know if this one is going to be a bit hazy at the bottom, so we'll put more in a little bit later on and see. But yeah, as you can see, this beer has poured a very pale golden straw yellow colour. It actually looks a little bit like a Munich Helles or something like that, or a Belgian, you know, a Belgian blonde, to be honest with you. But you can see there's a solid finger and a third, I guess you could say, of a perfect white head, not even creamy. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones streaming up towards the bottom of the head there. But as it stands, it has got a degree of haze to it, but it's not. It's got the kind of haziness that you'd expect of like a West Coast IPA or whatever. So yeah, definitely bright and yellow coloured, this one. I don't think there's any caramel or things in this one. So yeah, that's the reason why it will have a very, very bright yellow colour actually. So yeah, I'm not sure. Is there oats in this one? Does it say? It doesn't actually say whether there's oats, havre and things like that in it. So yeah, I'm surprised. I thought you actually had to put that on the can as part of the regulations. I'm not sure. But yeah, it certainly looks like a nice IPA, this one. Do like the little bit of haziness that it has, but still a degree of transparency to it, I have to say. So yeah, let's have a little look at the aroma of this one then and see how we get on. But nothing overly surprising about this beer in terms of its appearance, but with the haze craze these days, would have expected to be a little bit more hazy, and definitely one of the more yellow ones that you're going to come across. I guess maybe that's the reason for the label, but yeah. So yeah, this one, you can smell a little bit of the breadiness to this beer. Definitely some of the pale malts coming out there. I don't know if I've got a feeling there might be a little bit of oat in here. I don't know if, I think there's a wee touch of wheat as well, but mainly I think this is a kind of pure malt base, if that makes sense. So yeah, the malt base in this beer is really, it's very kind of straight up. It almost smells a little bit like soapy or something like that. But you do get a little bit of a biscuity malt out of this one, a little bit of that McVitie's Digestives thing, maybe a little bit of a kind of butterscotchy, diacetyl type note as well. So yeah, there's definitely a little bit of that in this. Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of that coming out in the aroma of this one. So that's an interesting point to make. So you can smell a little bit of the kind of caramelly, boozy type notes coming out of this one. Yeah, the aroma of this is pretty. The malt base is quite. The malt base is very, very kind of mild, if you like, and the hoppiness as well. On the green side of the hops, it smells. Well, the one thing is, if you drink a dry hopped beer too early, it's just going to give you a lot of green. To be honest with you, it's going to give you a hell of a lot of green. But this one, I think, going by the aroma, I think this one's going to be in pretty good condition. So you do get a nice little bit of a floral aromaticity out of this one. You can get a little bit of earthiness from the Mosaic as well. But mainly, I think the hoppy side of this beer is leaning towards a kind of zesty, grassy type ester actually. So yeah. It's quite interesting that actually. I like how the aroma of this beer goes together. But on the fruity side of things, you've got a bit of mango from the Citra. You have got a little bit of a stronger tropical fruit in there, maybe a little bit of a passion fruity note as well. But yeah, a little bit of the tangerine oranges coming out. You can pick out maybe a little touch of the kind of lychee gooseberry complexities that you'll get from Citra. But there's also a nice kind of lemony citrus note to this one as well. I mean, if I was blind smelling this, I might think there's a wee touch of Centennial or something in here. So I do wonder if there's a different bittering hop in this one. Maybe there's a bit of Columbus. There is just something that's distinctive about the kind of floral notes that this beer has that makes me wonder if there's Columbus in here as the bittering hop. A very good bittering hop, that, actually. So yeah, the aroma of this one is quite interesting. It's got quite a lot of stuff that you'd expect, and the malt base is just very, very light, actually. So yeah, this is it's quite an interesting smelling beer, this one. So take a little bit of time and just enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. But we're going to have a taste of this one now and see how we got on. So this one is the Boy Juice, an 8% double IPA from Pang Pang Brewery in Hookeringen up in Stockholm. This is beer number 4 from these guys, one of their regular range. Slàinte, skål. That's pretty nice, actually. I like that. So yeah, it's actually a lot more oily and kind of crisp. It's a lot more oily than I was thinking it was going to be from the other one, because I'm sure that the what was the IPA that I had from these guys quite recently, was it called the Gang? Was it called Pang Pang Gang Bang or something like that? I can't remember. I can't remember what that was called, but it was the one that had the kind of silver can with the green writing on it. It's annoying me that it was Gang something or something Gang. And that was really nice. This one, but I felt in a way that it felt a little bit light. And this beer, in some ways, it still feels very kind of crisp and easy to drink, but it doesn't. It's got a bit more of an oily character to it, this one, which is nice. And I think maybe you'll notice that with the Pang Pang IPAs, they do have. It does in some ways feel very light, but it's got a hell of a lot of flavour. So the malty, the actual liquid itself feels really quite light, but at the same time, it does have a good bit of flavour. So yeah, that's an interesting point to make about this one. So yeah, it's an interesting point that they can make these beers really feel quite as light as they do. I wonder exactly how they do that with the brewing. Of course, I know you can add like pure alcohol and things like that to these beers to put the alcohol content up a little bit, but I really don't think that's what they're doing here. But that's the thing, is this beer, for an 8%er, it doesn't feel like the thickest beer, but it does have a good oily character to it at the same time. It's got a mid-level kind of oiliness. This is, if you think about like a 7%, a roughly 7% West Coast IPA, it's got the same level of oiliness to it, so it's quite impressive the amount of flavour and punch that it packs for an 8%er when you consider how thick it is. One that's got me in its mouthfeel, it really has me a little bit perplexed almost, but it's a good beer nonetheless, and I can see why this one's been chosen as or why they've created this one as one of their main beers. This is really quite good, actually. So thumbs up once again to Pang Pang beer, this, actually. Out of the 3 beers I've had recently, I think this is the one that's impressed me the most. I think this is the one that I've liked the best, actually. So yeah, fair enough, fair play. I have to say as well that I think I'm getting this one just in pretty good condition, because it doesn't really have any of the dustiness, but it's got a lot of lovely juicy, fruity flavour to it, actually. So again, that's a credit to Systembolaget, that one. I've just got this one just at the right time. So yeah, let's try and break down the flavour of this beer then a little bit. So straight away you can feel the nice kind of pale malty quality that just blankets the middle of your tongue. If you go towards the back of the tongue, you can get a little bit of a more, I do think there is a little touch of wheat to this one. You do get a little bit of a wheaty bitiness towards the back of the palate, but at the same time, the wheaty side of the beer is actually really quite smooth. As you move into the kind of middle third of your tongue, you get a little bit of an oily, you do get a little bit of an oily, how do you say, you do get a little bit of that kind of diacetyl, kind of Werther's Original type oily quality. That kind of blankets the kind of very centre of your tongue. On top of that, you get a little bit of a kind of biscuity, and you get a bit more of an oily, biscuity sweetness coming out of this one, a little bit like McVitie's Digestive, so the graininess of that comes out, pardon me, as you move a little bit further out from the very centre of your palate. So it's quite interesting how that side of the beer comes together actually. That's a really interesting point to make about this one. But yeah, I mean, the more and more you drink of it, the more, the lighter it feels. Actually, this one's ridiculously drinkable for an 8%er. You could quite easily tell me that this was, this was a 7%er, and I would have enough basis to believe you. That you can pick up on the booziness of this one, but you can get some very strongly flavoured IPAs like this that are around the 7% mark. So the way that this beer feels in its mouthfeel, I really would have basis to believe you if you made that statement to me. But yeah, I like the malt base on this one. I quite like it. As you move towards the front of that middle third of your tongue, you do get a little bit of an oaty creaminess to this one. So I do think there is oats and wheat in this one, but I don't think anywhere near the same volume as you might get from the likes of like Apex or Steep Bears or something like that. I think these guys are doing something a little bit different with this one, I have to say, because it really, this beer, it's got all the flavour you expect of a kind of modern IPA, but it just has a completely different mouthfeel. I'd be very curious to know how these guys are brewing the beers like this actually. It's an interesting point. But yeah, on the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate you do get a little touch of earthiness, which is from the Mosaic out of all the hops in this. As you come further forward along the sides of the tongue, that just kind of smoothens out a little bit, and as you reach the front corners of the palate, there's quite a nice spicy floral aromaticity with this one actually. So yeah, I like how this one goes together. Yeah, and as you go round the front kind of curve of the palate there, you do get a little bit of that lighter kind of grassy quality there. I was saying in the aroma that I thought there might be a bit of Columbus in this one. Going by the kind of flavours I'm getting from the floral side of things, I'm not really sure actually. I'm not overly certain about that, because you don't get so much of that kind of floral. You don't get that kind of distinctive spiciness out of this beer that you would normally get with Columbus, although in fairness, as you go further into the aftertaste, a little bit more of that does come out. So I'm a bit torn on whether to, nail the colours to the mast and say that there is Columbus in this one. There might well be, and there's a few. There is a wee bit of that spiciness, and some of the earthiness might be due to that. But yeah, the main thing is whether it's a good beer or not. I always like playing guess the hops, but I will say this one is really nice. I do like the little bitter edge that it has, but it is one of these kind of more modern hazy type IPAs, so it's not going to blow the head off you in terms of bitterness, this one. But like I say, around the front curve of the palate you've got a nice lighter kind of grassy element to the beer. Behind the front curve of the palate you've got that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters start to push their way out of the beer. As you go towards the back of that oily bubble, there is a wee bit of a darker passion fruit there. As you come further forward, you get a bit of a lighter kind of juicy mango, and then beyond that, you get the kind of tangerine orangey notes that you'd expect of the Mosaic. So I mean, this beer really, it doesn't do anything overly surprising. It's one of these ones where it's just really well crafted in my mind. This beer's kind of got everything you would expect from a double IPA, apart, as I say, the mouthfeel on this one is a bit lighter, but it really does everything that you'd expect. As you get right on towards the kind of front edge of the tongue, you do get a little bit of a kind of citrusy, grassy, zesty sort of thing, almost a little bit lemony. So again, I said in the aroma as well, I could be convinced that there was a little bit of Centennial in here, but again, if there is a bittering hop, which I do suspect it might be Columbus, Columbus probably would give you a little bit of that kind of grassy, zesty quality as well. But the main thing is this is a really very nice beer, and I like how it goes together. The tangerine oranges, they linger into the aftertaste. You don't get many of the kind of complexities that you get from Citra often in this one. You do get a little bit of a gooseberry note on the very kind of front edge of the tongue, but mainly it's quite straight up. A little bit of darker passion fruit, then mangoes. Those are the two Citra elements, and then you've got the tangerine oranges from the Mosaic, the slightly more oily thing. So you've got that kind of, you've got that sort of mix of things going on the front edge of your tongue. So yeah, I like how this one goes together actually. This gets a big thumbs up from me, and it's in terms of its flavour, and I can see why they've chosen this one, or they've made this one their regular beer. This is absolutely solid stuff. So yeah, if you're interested in the Swedish IPAs, then this is one that I recommend you try, definitely. So yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel of this one, then, like I say, I think this is quite a mid-bodied beer, but kind of pushing towards the bottom end of mid-bodied. The carbonation is very smooth. The mouthfeel does have a good little bit of an oily character to it, but it's not oily in the kind of thick sense, to be honest with you. In terms of hoppy bitterness, I'd be surprised if this beer, I think it's about 30 IBUs. I'd be surprised if it's more than that. So yeah, about 30 IBUs maybe. Maybe even 40 at a push, but I'd be surprised if this is more than 30. The malt base, like I say, is quite smooth. There is a degree of sweetness to it in the middle of the palate, a little bit of an oily kind of Werther's Original butterscotchy type thing in the middle of the palate, a little bit of diacetyl, I guess you can say. But yeah, you've got a little bit of hoppy bitterness around the edge of the tongue, and you've got a nice, quite oily, fruity character out of the beer as well. So I like how this one goes together. Actually, it's a very well crafted beer, this one. I like this, so I would recommend that you have a go at this for yourself and just see what you think. But yeah, let's leave the review at that for this. A solid beer. This one quite light in its mouthfeel compared to other beers that are the same percentage and within the same style, but a really solid beer nonetheless. And I've got to try this one just at a very kind of solid time. So a triple dry hopped double IPA 8% with Citra and Mosaic, the Boy Juice from Pang Pang Brewery. So yeah, I've really enjoyed trying this one, so I hope that you guys have as well. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. A really nice beer that I recommend that you try. So once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Pang Pang Brewery, and I'm sure that we'll return to these guys at some point in the fairly near future. Thank you again for watching, and I will catch you guys later. Make sure you check out my social media, check out Pang Pang Brewery, and have a go at the Boy Juice. It's pretty damn good, I have to say. Slàinte, skål, cheers.